In an earlier nugget in this series, entitled Office 365 Overview and Installation, you saw me perform an installation of Microsoft Office Professional 2013. And that was one that was fully deployed to a desktop computer, and you didn't have to have an internet connection once it was completed. However, you might not have realized that that was not a conventional installation like we have with other types of software. This is what we call Click to Run. It's relatively new with Microsoft. It's got a lot of really cool features. Let's go ahead and take a look at what it does. So let's take a look here at what Click to Run installation is. First of all, we need to address what it's not. It's not a Windows installer like an MSI that you would have in conventional installations. For example, there would be an MSI on a Office DVD, or if you downloaded a retail version of Office. And you can still download corporate versions of Office as well that use this MSI file. But Click to Run is different than that, because MSI files, you can use those directly within software deployment in Group Policy Objects. You can use it in deployment using Configuration Manager. So that's a little bit different method. Now, you can still use something like a Group Policy Object to deploy a Click to Run installation, but with Click to Run, it's going to use usually a startup script. Okay, so that's just kind of a little bit of a difference there in how that works out. Now, the other thing about Click to Run installations is that it uses streaming and virtualization. This is actually pretty cool. One of the things that it'll do with streaming is it's kind of like a video. So if you're watching a video here, like this video even, you can fast forward and click further on in the time stream and everything. It's kind of like that even with this Click to Run installation. You might be right here in the process of downloading the software. Maybe it's already downloaded, let's say, Word. Okay, Word right there. And you've downloaded that, and you can actually then use something else that hasn't downloaded prior to the full install. So maybe the Word hasn't actually gotten the dictionaries yet. Well, but you want to use a dictionary for a spell check, just hasn't downloaded yet. You can be using Word, and then immediately it'll download that feature, that dictionary, as soon as you try to invoke it. It'll just say, oops, we don't have that dictionary. It'll reach out to the internet, grab it down from Microsoft, and you probably have a little hourglass or a delay for a few seconds while it gets it, but then you can just immediately use it, and it allows you to kind of skip ahead, so to speak, just like you can with video. There's also virtualization in this. It actually will run in kind of its own tiny virtual machine, and that really doesn't have a big advantage in day-to-day use for most people, except that it will help to protect the application in various ways. But one of the other things that allows you to do is to run side-by-side. So, for example, maybe we have some kind of a third-party plugin or application that works with Office, but only works with Office 2010. Well, that's an older version. So now we've got 2010 in operation, while side by side we're also running 2013 or whatever the next version of Office is going to be, right? So we can run these side by side, and they don't conflict or crash or collide or have DLL stomping, any of that kind of stuff. You do have to still understand that Microsoft doesn't recommend that, even though it's possible. That's because there are some things that could still collide. For example, certain kinds of macros and some of the third-party plugins and things like that could still collide here. You would just have to test those out and see if it causes a problem. But at least it gives you some flexibility there. It's also going to be immediately up to date. So, if you buy a DVD with Office on it and you install it, it might be 6-8 months old, and you have to now download all kinds of updates to patch it and fix it and so on. Well, with Click to Run, it's immediately downloading the most current version that Microsoft has available, and it'll update itself automatically and regularly, although you can change that update process if you want to administratively, and we'll take a look at something about that maybe in the next nugget. Also, after the installation is finished, you can then go offline. You see, all this is taking place, all the top part of this whiteboard takes place online on the internet, because you have to download it from Microsoft using Click to Run. Now, you'll see this again in the next nugget, but you can also bypass that, download the bits in advance to an administrative share, and then have the clients download it from a network share on your own network first. But regardless, wherever you get it, once it's downloaded, then you can take that computer offline. Maybe it's a laptop. Someone uses Click to Run to get Office, and then they take a flight, and they're 30,000 feet in the air. There's on some airplane here. It's supposed to be an airplane, and I'm going to really embarrass myself here. But anyway, it's supposed to be an airplane. And it looks like a boat propeller. But anyway, so now they're in the air, and they're not on the internet anymore. Well, now that they've downloaded Office 365, they have the full functionality of it. They do need to reconnect to the internet at least every 30 days just for a license check. And also, it kind of be useful for getting any updates. And this whole process is customizable. So again, we can customize what parts of Office they get, for example. Maybe we want them to have Microsoft Word, but we don't want them to have Excel. Or we don't want them to have, I don't know, Link, or some of those other parts of Office 365. Certainly, you can do that. By the way, these installations, that when they take place, be aware of the fact that you do have to be a local admin in order to be able to do that. And that's not always an issue with users, because with Office 365 and the distributed nature of it, they could be at home, log into Office 365 on their web browser, and then still download and install it on their home computer where they probably are administrators. So this is kind of a handy and very flexible thing that they can do here. In this nugget, we took a look at Office 365, specifically the Click to Run, and we looked at the overview of the technology there. In our next nugget, we're actually going to see how we can customize Click to Run. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.